And
All
there we
right.
go.
Bye, Sam. I love you. Love you.
Wow.
My screen says you just went live, Christine. Or not.
Welcome, everyone. Good to see you. Wednesday night, September 14th, and we're all in the house. I hope you're joining us too. My name is Christine Dykman, and I'm coming to you live through LinkedIn, and we are recording on YouTube. We're live streaming. And if you would like to watch the replay, you can feel free to do so. Tonight, we are going to talk about networking for businesses. I think it's different from job seekers, which we usually talk about, but it's not. And Rod Colon is our special guest, and he's going to tell us a little bit about networking for businesses. And our special guest, we got two of them, joining us tonight from long far away, we have Keith Bogan, and he talks to us a little bit about networking for both businesses and job seekers. So let's have a conversation, and hopefully you'll have some tips that you can take away to incorporate into what you're already doing. All right, take it away, Rod.
Well, where can I start? I mean, in my book, I wrote about networking is like breathing to me.
Yes,
It is a passion, a love. I know many individuals think about networking as, oh, I got to do it or whatever, and to me, it's always been about helping people, about being helped. It's funny. I when someone comes to me and they typically don't do this anymore, but years back they would say, "Well, this networking thing is not for me."
yes.
And I would say, "Well, what part's not for you? Helping people or being helped by people? What part isn't for you?" And they would look at me and smirk and says, "Well, networking is about truly developing friendships." And just here, Keith has been a wonderful colleague and mentor and friend, and boy, we've shared the good, the bad, and the ugly together, and that's what networking is, and it's a friendship. Now, is everyone going to be in that inner sanctum? No, but they're your friends, and I look at it as they can certainly lean on me, and I'm going to lean on them, and that's how I have tried to build my network over the years, Christine.
Networking has this really bad negative connotation. English language, you take out Webster's dictionary and we look up the word networking, and there's a lot of synonyms that we could use, but yet when people hear that word networking, they cringe. And they're like, I hate networking. And they try to avoid it at all costs. You brought up a very good point. It's really just about creating friendships, right? And building that trust and developing that relationship. What do you think, Keith?
Well, it's very interesting. The expression that comes to mind was coined by a good friend of all three of ours, a man named Jerome Leday. And his expression is networking is not just for not working. And it's so true. Most people associate it with just, if I need a job, I have to go network. That's when I have to talk to people. Otherwise, I don't have to talk to people. I do presentations to groups periodically on the subject of networking. Not nearly as often as Rod does, but I get out there and do some pretty large group presentations. And I always do this thing, which I consider to be kind of jerky of me, but I'll be talking about different stories and different things that have happened in the networking world and all that sort of thing. And I always stop in the middle and I'll look around the room and I'll say, so who here isn't part of a network? And invariably, one or two hands will go up in the room. And this is the jerk in me. I'll look at the person and I'll say, So you never went to school? You didn't have a chance to go to camp. No house of worship. Never worked a job. And it slowly dawns on the people who are foolish enough to raise their hands that everywhere you go, you're forming networks with people. You're connecting with people. You have some kind of relationship with people, and those are networks. And when you talk about a network that you might have built in high school or on the baseball team, or I had this big network of people from when I was coaching my son's baseball teams, and all the sports teams. Um, Networking, as Rod says very appropriately, is breathing. It's every moment you're awake. People think you have to do something special to network. You don't have to do that. You just have to be existing. Rod, you could not have put it better if we had scripted that.
So, Rod, going back to what you had said, it's like breathing. Going to what Keith has said, your house of worship or your school or your baseball team, the parents on the baseball team. How does that have anything to do with business?
Well, it's a great question. Business is all about the operations, talent, but people, right? If you've been opening up a door, you're creating a client, hiring, staying in touch, business development, business intel, as I call it, all of that is with people, right? And I was just with an individual out of Carnegie Mellon who was connected through someone else through a program, the summer program. And he's about to graduate, and he's really excited about an opportunity at Bloomberg, right? And I said, he's part of my network, and I put there my phone number. Yeah, that's my cell phone. Everyone is welcome to reach out to me or on LinkedIn. I got this. You're a part of my family. And so I said, real simple, let's go to LinkedIn, take a look at who do you know at Bloomberg, and who do you know that knows someone at Bloomberg. And he didn't know anyone personally at Bloomberg, but he did know about 90 individuals at a level 2, meaning a friend of a friend there. Then I said, okay, let's go into the area of his specialty, which is data analytics and data analysts. And I said, all right, let's put the title in LinkedIn with data. And 12 individuals came up. And I said, well, these 12 individuals you don't know because they're level 2, but you know someone who knows them. Are you willing, and can you? The answer is, of course you can, but are you willing to ask your friend with good ammunition, your resume, your cover letter, the job description, are you willing to ask your friend for the introduction to that person at Bloomberg? And that will open up the door. It's just like in his mind, it was like, whoa, it's all there. It's no big deal. I mean, I'm not revealing anything. It's just, but the question is going to be, and here's where rubber meets the road. Am I willing to ask someone, a level 1, for an introduction to someone else? And one is, do I have the value proposition? Is my request legitimate? Is it a legit request? And 2, is that individual who my level 1 is, my friend, are they truly someone I can reach out to? And for many, that's where the problem is. Oh, I haven't spoken to them in years. Oh, I don't even know who they are. They'll give me 300 excuses. I said, well, number 1, go to your network, take a look at all your level 1s and reassess it. Are they someone you could lean on? Are they leaning on you? And if not, reestablish it or remove them. Especially him that's a data analyst.
Remove them? You can remove them?
I remove them, absolutely. If for instance, if Keith, who I love, I reached out to him, let's say 6 times in a period of 3 months, and he never responded. I still love Keith, but I cannot have him as a level 1 if he's not going to be reciprocal in the activity piece. So I'll still have a café con leche as we get into the Hispanic Heritage Month with Keith, but I can, as a business owner of my career, have Keith as a level 1 because it's like water everywhere, but not a drop to drink.
I better go check.
Do you recommend people reach out before they give up and throw in the towel and make that disconnection?
They make a decision as to Here's the person's name, Christine Dykman. Boy, I don't know Christine.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I think I may have met her 12 years ago, but I haven't been in touch with her. Make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to reestablish a connection with Christine? Hey, Christine, how you doing? It's been a while. Boy, I'd love to reconnect with you. Or remove.
Okay. What do you think, Keith?
I have removed connections over time once in a while. I probably am not as quick to do it as Rod, but Rod's not wrong. I think that I do it more when the person actively doesn't respond. Or, and so with each person I keep, you have that trail, that conversation thread, and you can see what you talked about before. So if they come to me and can we connect? I'd love to get your advice on things. I'd like to get your help. I'd like to get an introduction. And then they get whatever they need, and then they disappear for 4 years, and then they come back with the same request. It's not so much that I'm going to disconnect. It's more that I'm going to not necessarily respond as much. I'll say hi, but I'm not going to go put myself out there and make an introduction if I think that they're the type of person who doesn't treat it in a two-way street the way Rod talks about. I can keep them as a connection that might come in handy with someone else in my network later, because I can always call on the fact that I helped them at some point, so there's a chip there to be called in, if you will. But when they establish that behavior pattern like Rod talks about, you don't necessarily respond as quickly. Rod, you're probably right. There's probably some people in there that I should get rid of. In fact, I should probably check my LinkedIn now to make sure Rod hasn't chucked me out the door. But
The beauty of the Christine is the following. All of us will operate our networks a bit differently.
Yes.
Keith is not right or wrong. It's just we all operate as a sole proprietor of my business of Rod Colonic Enterprises. I'm going to leverage the network in a certain way under my methodology. So there's no right or wrong, as there's a comfort level there from that perspective. So, but that's the beauty, that everyone will have a different level. I always say, when you come to me, I'm doing a workshop, you're at the bodega, right? So everybody knows the bodega, right? So there are things in the bodega that you're going to get and you're going to immediately buy. There are going to be other things in the bodega you're like, maybe later. And there are other things in the bodega that's like never. And so some of the things that I'm going to share with you is that that's Rod, that's not me. And that's okay.
I think that is a wonderful example, Rod, that you've just given, because everything that you have is not for everybody, but some of those things might be. So to be able to pick and choose what's going to work best is definitely going to put you head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, the buffet. The buffet.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Very good. So when we're talking about businesses, and we're talking about networking and the CEO of me and doing good to get good back, almost a karma situation, we know that people are on our team. We know that we're working with people and managing people. Is networking an element that has to do with maybe employee engagement or retention? We're, the big buzzword nowadays is the great resignation and quitting, the quiet quitting, and all of these things. Does networking have anything to do with those things, or is that something separate?
No, I think networking has a lot to do with it. I mean, as far as, as Keith was saying about your alumni association, your groups and all of that, well, what are you reading? What are you hearing? What's going on? That's all part of what you'll bring, to your network. But from the great resignation piece, well, if you're leveraging your network and you're hearing from good business intel that other organizations are providing better benefits, greater opportunities, great training, more compensation, well, that's what businesses do, right? The businesses will go out and look for an identifying. There's a client. My relationship with an employer, if I'm employed, my thought is that they're my client. And I want to do the best I can for my client. But I also understand that at any time they can let me go and I can terminate the relationship as well. And there's that to me is not an issue, and for many in my culture, my ethnicity of being Latino, Hispanic, there's this whole thing about loyalty, and loyalty is to my family, but I provide a great service to my client.
Right.
And there's just a different, there's a little piece there as to, if the employment at will policy is that they have you, they have you sign it, irrespective if you go in as a consultant, employee, or whatever, that there are no guarantees, and they can let me go at any point for any time as long as it's legal, and I can do the same. But how many of us are actually doing that? How many of us are terminating that relationship? And I would think a lot of people, many more would, if they're truly leveraging the network and that standpoint. How many individuals do you know that, well, I'll just work harder. I know there's a 10% reduction. I know, look, recession's it's around the corner. I've been sharing a few things. It's coming. So what are you going to do? Are you going to just work harder instead of 8 hours? I'm going to work 12 hours. I'm going to work 14 hours. I'm going to be the last one standing with the flag?
Yeah.
Or are you going to run a business?
What have you heard, Keith?
You asked the question, is networking connected to any of this? And Rod and I have the same thought running through our heads, I'm sure, and that is networking is connected to everything. Networking is connected to breathing. When we first started talking, I sort of ran through the 3 parts of life that I view networking. You always want to deal with a trusted person. And that's the key to networking. So networking is essential for business because I'd rather do business with somebody that I trust in, believe in, I've gotten good references on. Networking is good for a job search, obviously, for the same reason. I mean, the world can throw 500 resumes at an employer. Who are they going to look at? They're probably going to look at someone who they're introduced to, someone who comes with a recommendation, someone who they can talk to about. Even on a personal level, and it's sort of a business thing. Your sink spouts a leak tonight. You want to open up the phone book? Sorry, I can't believe I said that. You want to go on Google and find yourself a plumber? Or you want to talk to your friends and get a recommendation on the plumber who's not going to charge you an arm and a leg and is going to actually show up?
Right.
All of these things are networking. Everything in life is networking. It's always better to do something where you've had a recommendation. You read a book because somebody says it's really good. That's networking. You go to a show because people, your friends told you it was outstanding. That's networking. You might apply to a company because that you've never heard of, but you got a friend there who just raves about it and wants you to be there and all that.
It sounds like a word of mouth thing, a positive referral from somebody saying, hey, you need to do this, or you need to go buy that, or you need to, take advantage of this service because I said so, or somebody you trust. So is that networking?
In many respects, yes. I mean, you are listening to the words of people that you trust in some cases, or maybe just online reviews, which I don't trust as much, by the way. If you or Rod said to me, the show on Broadway is really good, I'm going to listen to that more than I'm going to listen to Jeffrey Lyons telling me that it's a good show, even though he's a good critic. I don't even know if he does Broadway or not, but anyway, the point is that is networking. But to point it back to business stuff, with the companies that I've worked for, there's no question. I've taught salespeople, not on the level that Rod does by any means, but I've taught groups of salespeople the concept of building the relationship of talking to people who you'd like to be clients, who you'd like to be customers, but being their friend first, perhaps. Offering them information, offering them connections, being of value to them without it having anything to do with what it is you want them to buy from you. Building that relationship. It's a longer term sell, but the more those people like you and trust you, the more they're going to want to do business with you.
I want a
And Keith
milkshake.
was cut off by the blender. Yeah, can I order my smoothie now? Do you recommend that? Is that word of mouth?
Hey, tell your network to quiet down there, huh?
That doesn't
So,
sound so scary anyway, you know?
Kristen, one of the things that which Keith indicated is this whole aspect of goodwill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, many will say, well, I remember the first time that I was asked to go to a networking event, a major function was, meet as many people as you can. And so I went with my business cards and handed them out to, if I had 50 cards, I handed out 50 cards by the door. And when I came back, I they asked me, well, did you meet any good contacts? I said, well, I gave out 50 cards. Well, did you meet anybody? I said, well, no, I gave out the 50 cards. That was my idea of networking.
Yeah.
But networking really is about goodwill. And I think that the opportunity to ask comes down the road a little bit, right? So for many, the thought about networking is being uncomfortable and, well, what do I say? How do I do it? It's just, what do I share with them? How do I get the conversation going so that it's just a ground ball to short throw to first, no big deal, right? So that's the first part. And it's just, at some point, you need to be really comfortable with you and who you are and what you do and what you'd like to share with them. So get comfortable in just sharing who you are. And then once you have shared that, is to listen to them, ask questions, be curious about them. Hey, Keith, that's great. Tell me about your work. Tell me about family. Tell me about various things. And then what I'm thinking about is, how can I connect the dots?
Mm-hmm.
Keith mentioned something about, his kids being in sports or whatever. Do I know someone in my network that can help or support? Keith has X. Keith is something here. I'm always thinking about that goodwill. How can I connect the dots? Because I know that by doing that, I have separated myself from 90% of the others. Because when I say, well, hey, how can I help you out? Would somebody like this be of help to you? And I'll actually even take my cell phone and show them the person and look at their bio. Would a connection to that person be okay? And they were like, yeah, Rod, that would be great. So you're the one with the goodwill. So when someone does that to me, which is rare, I almost fall off of my chair or just fall down and like, no way. No, you didn't. No, you did not do my move. So it's something to keep in mind.
Absolutely. I think that in the business sense, when I do speak with other business owners, the thing that is their pet peeve about LinkedIn and the use of LinkedIn for building your business connections and networking is that initial hard sale. The initial, I want to connect with you, and then all of a sudden they try and sell you something, and there's like 4 paragraphs in a message that their product is so great and you need to try it and I'll give you a demo, whatever it happens to be. And it really turns people off and they're just really tired of that. So how would you approach that?
And I'm sure Keith has a lot on this as well. But for me is I'll get somewhere between 10 to 20 invitations to join them. So if I get 20 in a week, 10 of them is just an invitation with no further information. And I just dismiss those.
Okay.
The other 10, there'll be 8 of them that is trying to help my business somehow, that they figured out through hieroglyphics and, all biorhythms and all of that type of stuff. They can help me. And I just dismiss those. And then there are 2 individuals that'll say, hey, Rod, I saw your presentation. I read your book. I did this. And those absolutely accept. And then I immediately on the reply back to them is, hey, let's chat. Let's talk. How can I be of help to you? How can I support you? Now, once again, this is my style of networking.
Right.
It's not everybody's, but I treat everyone in the network as if they were part of my external family.
Right.
And I rarely, ever sell on
Mhm.
LinkedIn. I
Mhm.
try to provide value. Take
Right.
this quote, take this information, share this, so that when I need to reach out to someone, it's not a global, sale. It's specific to one individual and requesting their guidance. And I simply say, "Hey, I need your guidance on this," as opposed to a hard sell. Some others prefer the hard sale. That's
Mhm.
their style. They will, I did recruiting many years ago, and something's going to stick, and it is. And
Right.
that's not my style of
Mhm.
networking or relationship building. And sometimes an actual financial deal, the money
Right.
comes 6 to 7 years later through multiple connections to a
Mhm.
person. But if it wasn't for me meeting Keith in 2004, this major deal that happens in 2012 wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Keith.
Right. I'm in your camp too, Rod. So I agree. And I see, Keith, your head is shaking. So
I
it's
can
shaking up
actually
and
hear you.
down. Not a no, but it's a yes. So
Just for the
I
benefit of those listening, I'm hiding in a Dunkin' Donuts, and they picked the last 5 minutes to do a substantial amount of vacuuming about 5 feet from my seat. So that's why I've been on mute most of the time, and I may have to go back there. I have no idea what they're doing back there, but anyway, I'm the only person here. I mean, come on. Anyway, Rod is absolutely right. So part of the reason that you and I know each other, Christine, and I think Wine and Dine, my networking organization, is how Rod and I met too. Um, the When people who are in business come to our events, of course they want to sell. But what I've learned, and what I teach the people in business who come, the vendors, if you will, I like to call them partners myself, is the less you say, the more you'll sell. The people, and Rod did this brilliantly when he was with me in the early days. Rod never talked about Rod. Rod never talked about his business. Rod just sat there and, "Hi, how you doing? My name's Rod. How can I help you?" Over and over again. And that's who Rod is. And those are the types of people who everybody around will start to like, start to trust, and all that. And then when the time is right, there'll be an opportunity to talk. They'll always ask, "Rod, what do you do? What's your business?" And once they know that, there's a much higher level, much higher opportunity for them to engage in that business. The ones who come in and throw out business cards like it's a poker game,
Yeah.
And then leave and think, "Oh my God, I went with 20 cards and I must have made 20 contacts because I went do all my cards." It's absolutely useless. In fact, over the years, Wine and Dine now almost 20 years old, I have thrown some partners out of the room because all they do is they vomit on people with their sales. It's ridiculous. The ones who build relationships, who provide the value that Rod's talking about, who are there as a source of information and connections, not just to sell and get money. Those are the ones that do the best and wind up, really doing well in terms of business.
So if we were to look at our team as a networking group, and my management team, let's just throw a number out there's 10 people. My internal team, are they their own networking group, would you say?
Rod, you want to take that one? Because I'm not sure if I understood that. Do you want to ask that again?
I am a manager and I have 10 people under me working on my team in a widget company. Is that a networking group in itself?
Well, it's by its very definition, it's a group of people. Therefore, it's a network.
So am I,
it's a network.
even though I'm managing them and asking and demanding they do this or delegating, am I still giving of myself and my knowledge and my time?
Successful leaders. I don't want to use the word manager. Successful leaders, absolutely. People. I've had people working for me throughout my career, and I am always there to provide them with information, with guidance, with mentorship. It doesn't always have things something to do with work. It might be getting the group together to go to, public events, sporting events, or whatever. It might be, coming together to throw a party for people or for the company. Um, there are a lot of ways you can be of benefit to your employees that are working for you, besides a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we are human beings first. And I don't understand the concept of somebody who just barks out orders and expects retention, let alone production.
Yeah.
So do you feel, Rod, that being good at networking is going to increase your retention?
I would say the following. Mm-hmm. The skills that an individual needs to be a good networker mm-hmm. are the skills that are required to be a very good leader and manage. So leader, right? So forget about management, just leader. So does Keith and Rod have a relationship that they trust one another? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if Keith if I'm working for Keith mm-hmm. and we trust each other, good relationship there. Can I go to Keith and say, man, this is just not working out, be it business or outside of that? That goes on. Keith tells me about something about his family, something about his kids, something about a neighbor. Mm-hmm. And I may know someone. Is that good bonding within an organization? Absolutely. I talk to Keith, says, Keith, man, I'm really struggling with this area. So I'm comfortable in saying my weaknesses to Keith, my boss.
Right.
And we're saying now is, can I leverage my network to get that business intelligence to bring it to the organization? Yes. Is that good networking? Absolutely. So, and Christine, thank you for the question, because I've never looked at networking core skill mm-hmm. and being a leader core skill in an organization. And as I'm thinking about it, as you asked the question, like they parallel. A great networker is a great leader. Those are the core skills that you need to be really good with people. And as a manager and as a leader in an organization, if I'm looking out for your best interest, yes, for you to succeed, for your family to succeed, for your kids to succeed, for the organization to succeed, it's a win-win-win model.
I love that. I think that's a perfect summary. Okay, we're done. I think that's awesome. I really just, I absolutely love all of that. Do you disagree, Keith? Because I'm like very excited by that. That's just a perfect summary. I think that
there we go. I just came back.
Yeah,
Rod
you don't need to network unless you are in job search. And like you said, Rod, they parallel one another. So when you have a job, you still need to network. Even if you're not networking with the goal of getting a job, you're networking with the goal of being a really good leader.
Let me add one thing, by the way, from a business perspective, both as a leader of people within your organization and as the leader of a network of clients. Mm-hmm. And that is, the more you network in terms of provide good things for those people, whether they're your employees or whether they're your clients or customers, the more you build relationships with them, the more you help them and get them to trust you, the more they're going to tell you. So the more likely, if you have employees, that you'll know if one of them is about to leave or if one of them is unhappy. Same thing is true with clients. Mm-hmm. You would rather know if a client's unhappy so you can possibly save the relationship and continue to have them as a client. Same thing with employees. Rather than be blindsided when suddenly the client decides to blow you off and go to your competition.
Yes.
If you've built more of a relationship with them so that you understand who they are and you can see more of the signs of things that might be going wrong, you're definitely going to help your retention numbers in your employees and in your clients.
Yeah.
Last night I was watching a documentary on mental health, mm-hmm. and they asked a question that was around suicide, that most of the time a parent, a friend, a teacher noticed a difference in that individual.
Mhm.
So as a leader of an organization and we having a good relationship, you're going to notice when someone is not at their best, not the same. And as a leader, the question is to go and to ask, hey,
Yes.
for many in the old, being a baby boomer here, the old school was just work. I don't care. Just do it. Just get it done.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're in a different century.
Yes.
Or it really, as a great leader, is to say, hey, Keith, man, I know you're not yourself. Let's chat about it. Where most people would say, no, that's taboo. I don't want to talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or even to add on to that, you may not need to say it yourself, but if the person, the client or the employee feels comfortable with you, has built a rapport with you where they trust you, even if you don't notice anything, even if you don't say anything, there's more of a chance they may come to you and express their concerns, their feelings, their frustrations, whatever, the thing that may want to make them quit or go to a competitor or what have you. So yes, you're absolutely right, Rod. It helps you be able to reach out and ask a question, but it also helps them do the same thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome.
Hey, listen, networking is all about relationships. Yeah. What exactly is life again? It's all about relationships. Life is not lived in a vacuum. Life is not lived unless you're a hermit. You're not just hanging out at home and doing nothing. Life is.
I always say you're not on an island all by yourself, guys. There's a lot of us people there.
Yeah. Here is a wonderful book that I picked up many years ago. That from a mechanics standpoint, the do's and don'ts. The book is called Networking Magic. Networking Magic by Rick Frischman. And that is the book, and I still use it today and many others. But that book, the philosophy and the methodology that I have espoused over the years has come from Networking Magic, and the style and the methodology and the philosophy that's written in the book.
By Rick who?
Frischman, Frischman.
All right. I put that in the comments so that anybody can check that out.
Yeah. It's the book. The cover has a rabbit, so it's like the networking magic, and there's a rabbit in the.
Oh yeah, pulling a rabbit out of a hat. There you go. Is it a long book?
No, if it was a long book, I wouldn't be reading it. So with Mr. ADHD here, it's not happening.
Well, pick it up, put it down.
Unless it's not audible.
What is Rod? What is this thing you call reading? I don't remember what that is. I'm sorry.
Don't say that too loud. I have a librarian for a daughter. Okay.
You got to read. All right, here we go. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Hey, do you see all the books behind me? Yeah. All right. Networking Magic by Rick Frischman. Sounds good. Is that the only book that you recommend, Rod?
Oh, for business, since we're in this business, I was saying, let me go to my library, and here's a wonderful book. And let me, I guess I got to, maybe it's called Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. Endless Referrals, Bob Berg, B-U-R-G. So for those who are true business owners, not the CEO of me, but really, going out there and some business, really good way of, instead of cold calling or cold immersement, this is the appropriate way from a sales perspective how to do it.
All right. Very good. Is that internal networking or is it external as well? Because I know sometimes we do, business to business. What do you do? Oh, well, what do you do? Or what company do you work for? And what do you do in that company? And when we're going to mixer events or chamber events and that kind of thing, or even wine and dine. And, we're doing some interaction. We've never met somebody before. And a lot of our identity is what we do for a living and who we work for, and being able to express that. Is that part of networking outside as opposed to that internal being a good leader?
You know, if I talk about, if someone says, well, Rod, tell me a little bit about you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it depends on the audience, right? So for me now, in with my years experience in what I do, will I talk about my work as in diversity, equity, and inclusion? Sure. Will I talk about my work with HISPA, nonprofit supporting Latino kids? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Will I talk about, you know, my broadcasts, the shows, all of that, being an author, you know, but I'll also talk about my granddaughter, Lily, or my 4 other grandkids, or my wife, or any of these various types of things I could bring on. So I'm in the moment with Keith and having a conversation. I'm not, in the beginning, it's going to be a little bit more scripted. Got it.
Right.
But after a while, it's just
A
Rod
person.
being Rod and Keith being
You're just
Keith.
a person.
Hey, Keith, tell me a little bit about who you are. You're comfortable in your own shoes. When you can be comfortable in your own shoes at any event, be it at a Dunkin' Donuts that I'm going to, you know, I'm on the line with somebody and say, hi, you know, tell me. Or at a, you know, at a major event, just get comfortable with the person in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Years from now, I'm going to point out to Lily that she was the only one of the 5 grandchildren that Rod named tonight. I just want to make that point there.
I only knew about Lily. I didn't know about the other ones because I've heard about Lily.
Listen, I'm still trying to get used to the concept that Rod's a grandfather because he's way too young for that sort of thing. But
yeah, I got 5.
That's just insane. That's crazy.
I can't believe you have
actually
5
Lily's
either.
story is being shared. I just posted that her story is now my daughter's going to be talking about that in Montreal, Canada, at a
Really?
major healthcare conference.
Wow.
So yeah, Lily's you know, her story. But yes, I do have 4 other grandkids, and as they get older, I'll begin to get them to do their elevator pitches as well.
Good. That's good. Well, I don't see any questions in our chat box, and I know that you have another engagement that you have to speak at as a panelist. So I do thank you for your time tonight, Rod. Thanks so much for joining us.
No, my pleasure. It was great seeing you, Keith, and it's been much too long, and we need to reconnect. And Christine, thank you for this opportunity. It's a lot of fun, and haven't really. It's been some time since I've spoke about what I do on a daily basis and the love and passion that I have for it. A lot of my discussions have moved into other areas, but it's always nice going back to your roots.
Absolutely, and please know that I am in your court, and everything that I've learned about networking has come from you, and then Keith built upon it, and so you 2 are my heroes on a pedestal.
I will say, of the many things I know about Rod, you said it perfectly. He has such a passion for bringing people together, for helping them connect the dots. You know, if you listen to him long enough, you hear all about the CEO of Me and all of the other fantastic things that he's talked about in the world of networking. But what he has done to help people navigate life. I'm not talking business, I'm not talking jobs, although that's too, but just navigate life. You cannot possibly measure that. And it's been a privilege for these almost 20 years watching this performance. It's been magnificent.
Awesome.
Thank you, Keith. You're a blessing to all. Christine, thank you again. God
Thank
bless
you.
you guys. All the best. Have a great fall.
And you do the same. We'll see each other soon. Thanks
Alrighty.
for coming, everyone.
Take care.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good night.
All right, take care.